Good morning, and is it ever? It's just beautiful out here on the trail, and by the way, I'm host Rich Klein, and I'm here with our special guest, Tony Pellegrino from GenRight, and you're watching The Driver's Seat, the show that takes you, the viewer, along for the ride with some of the biggest names in the sport, and today, we're on Double Sammy at Sand Hollow in Hurricane, Utah. We're going to come up to this first obstacle, and it's known as the Guardian, right? So the Guardian is kind of like the gatekeeper for this trail.
Yep.
Pretty big climb, followed by a real like off-camber body scraping rock ledge, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, that's a big climb, right?
Yep. All right. So you just want to make sure your lockers are on for this one.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right, are we ready?
Yeah, I think we're ready.
Let's go.
Let's do it. It's amazing how well these tires stick.
Yeah, they do good. I missed the turn a little bit. You got to start just a little earlier.
Yeah.
It's hard to see on that inside, but no big deal.
Now what you're coming up to now, this wall, right? This rock kind of tilts you into...
Yeah, and you can see a lot of people have hit it.
Yeah.
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 So definitely want to be careful on that. So I'm going to let that front tire come down just where I don't hear the rocker bang.
Yep. Okay, hold on right there.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, let's go.
Okay. And we've got a little bit of a drop off right here. Not bad. And then a super sharp left, huh?
Yeah. Now this left is, it's really sharp, right?
Yeah.
So you almost have to make it, a multi-point turn?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just going to pull up here and then do one back up and we should be good.
Yeah.
If you've got an Atlas, you could do a front burn, but today we're just going to do the multi-point. All right. And then some nice steps coming up. Looks good, though. Lots of traction here.
Yeah.
A great view from up here, too.
Well, and your rig, the idea is that the suspension kind of follows the rocks. The tires are planted the entire time. It just makes it so much nicer coming up these things, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And look at that view.
Yeah.
Seeing the lake and everything there is just beautiful up here.
Snow-topped mountains, yeah. The contrast with the red sand, just awesome.
Yeah. Now, Double Sammy, you've come out to Sand Hollow probably, I don't know, how many times?
Yeah, a dozen times.
Yeah.
I've only run this a few times. It is a nice trail. I like it.
Yeah. It's perfectly set up for your average, weekend warrior jeeper guy, right?
Yep. Yeah, anybody could have fun on this. I think as long as you've got a locker, I think you're good.
Yeah.
What do they rate this one?
This one's a 7 rated trail.
Okay.
So yeah, it's at least one locker. You're looking at 35s is a comfortable deal. Preferably you have 2 lockers.
Yep. Yeah, or you're just gonna put more stress on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really the 35s is for some ground clearance because some of these steps you're gonna hear some banging as you come off. Yeah.
Yeah. But man, what a gorgeous morning to do this too.
Yeah, awesome. So we're just kind of cruising along in first gear, low range. Not bad.
Let the gearing kind of control your speed there,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that just being out here and enjoying the weather and enjoying the rocks, great chance to catch up with a pretty stable, amazing individual in the industry. I know that every chance I get to hang out on the trail with some of those big names, it's just super fun to have you,
Thanks, yeah. It's a lot of fun for me, too.
And the resume, obviously, I mean, it speaks for itself, right? You've got countless top 3 finishes in some of the biggest races in the world.
Yeah, thanks.
And all that technology, the racing that you've done, that all brings brings validity to the, some of the things you're building as far as GenRight's concerned, right?
Yeah, we've really focused on bringing some of that suspension and other capability into the Jeep products that we're offering. And I think people will be quite pleased if they get some of our parts or some of our suspension kits and realize how well they work.
Yeah. Well, now you're essentially passing the torch on to the sons, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. My youngest son, Jordan, who's just turning 21, he's doing the racing. And my older son, Jamie, is he does a lot of our graphic design and, works for GenRight, great, really capable. He'll probably be the one, that takes my place at some point. He's going to bring back my original Growler YJ, so I know that's something he's working on right now.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I like that YJ. Yeah. I'm getting ready to build a YJ.
That's right.
That's to me, that's kind of one of the quintessential YJs. You look at just what the YJ platform is, just really fun to build that vehicle. It's a very easy platform to cut.
It is inexpensive. It's good.
Yeah. So I see you turning the lockers on and off a lot. You want to explain what that's all about?
Yeah. Basically, I'm one of those guys who believes in if you turn on the lockers before you need them, that allows you to stay on the line that you originally set up for.
Yeah. And
it also puts less stress on the driveline. If you try and attempt an obstacle with one or no lockers on, you end up putting a lot more stress on the axles and other components. So just use them. That's what they're there for. You paid the money.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you start spinning a tire and it ends up grabbing, that's how you're twisting axle shafts. Or
sure.
If you try and engage the locker then you're more likely to strip the splines or somehow damage it.
Yeah. Now, what are you looking at when you go out the window there, when you're just looking out the door?
This isn't my home turf, right? So I'm kind of looking down the trail. I'm always looking at where the driver's side front tire is and making sure that I like the placement. As a driver, you don't worry about the passenger side as much as if you can put the driver's side tire right where you know it needs to be. The passenger will follow along and do what it needs to do.
Yeah.
So you just don't worry about the things you can't see,
Yeah. Well, and the idea is you get that spatial awareness that, you develop as a driver over time, and it's really kind of, once you realize where your vehicle's at, it's easier to focus on one tire, knowing the other tire is going to be where you need it to be, right?
Yeah, and especially if you're on an established trail, you can see the double tracks or, the most commonly.
Yeah.
So just put the driver tire, in that path, and your passenger's going to be good. So, like here's an obstacle where there's a rock sticking up. I don't worry about that. I just put the driver tire where I know it needs to be, and that'll clear.
Yeah.
The other thing I did was I switched out my mirrors for bubble mirrors, so I can see the rear tire on the passenger side as we go by that rock,
yep.
And then I know where to turn.
Yeah.
So, just little tricks that you can do really help when you're out on the trail, for sure.
Sure.
So now we're coming up on that kind of a double step here. And this is a little trickier. I saw people spinning tires and stuff here. This is one of those obstacles where, talking about ground clearance of the rear earlier,
yeah.
The rear bumper drags on this second one. So.
Sure. Now, just as a local here, the line to the right is the hardest to get to, but if you can get to a little bit more to the right, then at that point, you're not going to drag that bumper so
that's right.
Especially with all the clearance that these bumpers provide, right?
Yep. And that's one of the things with our products is since I'm out here on the trail, I'm always trying to build the best functional products. So
yeah.
That's a super important aspect.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to pull up to something like this and have the front bumper dig in or the rear bumper drag.
Yeah.
So again, I'm just looking out the window, making sure I'm hitting my mark here. And then that allows us to walk right up. And then we'll get over to this second step here. Now this is one of those ones where when the rear axle hits it, it's going to pivot around. The vehicle wants to square up with the obstacle. So you just need to be prepared for that. So there it goes. And then you want a little bit of throttle control there. So you let the vehicle pivot, and then don't gas it too much like you're in a panic, because you want to give the tires a chance to grab.
Right.
The tires will do what they call get greasy. So you got to slow them down and let them do their job, and that's what makes it really work. And I see a lot of newer drivers make that mistake. So you've got the low gears and everything, so you just want to use it.
Yeah, let the vehicle work. You put all this investment into the fun of building the car and having a good time, and you kind of get caught up in the ability to just let the vehicle work. You don't have to fight it so much.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Especially when you put the right products on, it really makes a difference.
So like right back there, what I did was I used the natural ramp of the rock to just elevate the front tire instead of like just driving into the face, and that really helps to make the vehicle just smoother. And you're not pushing on everything as hard.
Now, one of what I consider a key to the success of GenRight is also understanding the past, right? And how you came to power in the Jeep industry. So, one of the stories that I always refer back to is where are your roots? Where'd you come from? Why is GenRight how great it is? Like, what did you start? How did you get started?
Yeah, I bought a Jeep and started building it, and really, I did it pretty much how everybody does it, which is the wrong way. I got 33s, then I went to 35s, then I went to 37s, then I went to 40s, 42s.
Right.
So, and over that time, I was changing axles. I went from the Dana 35 to the Dana 44 to the Dana 60, and I pretty much did it the most expensive way you can. The good part for me is I learned a lot, and that really is reflected in what we offer our customers now.
Sure.
So where I saw, I was the one having to go find hardware and figure things out. Now today, we provide our customers all of that information and a complete package. So the other thing is that I built my vehicle on the garage floor, so I make sure that all of our products can be installed by that guy, that you don't need a lift in a fancy shop.
Sure.
So,
but if they do want the crazy builds, like this Terremoto, for instance, they can do that with your help, right?
Oh yeah. So we offer that in a number of ways. They can buy just the parts and kind of piece it together as they can afford it.
Sure.
They can buy the whole kit, which is totally complete, and makes it super easy. All the shocks are valved right. You get the right spring rates.
Yeah.
Everything is there for you. You can buy a rolling chassis. So my guys that build our race cars have installed all the components. So it's all welded on and powder coated and super nice with the Curry axles and the whole thing. Or you can drop off your Jeep and we'll do the whole thing for you. So kind of whatever fits your budget,
Yeah.
And so, like for me, I have as much fun building the Jeeps as I do driving them. So that's half the fun for me, for sure. All right, so we got our next little narrow section here with a little climb, which is cool. Again, I just clicked on the lockers, just make sure we don't slip off our line. And then we come back over the top. On the left side here, there's kind of a sharp little bump, and I just kind of go down on that to minimize how much impact that driver's side front takes.
Sure.
Not a big deal. This section is off camber.
Yeah, I was surprised at how off camber it is.
Yeah, so I think, yesterday we hit this a little higher.
Yep.
Today, maybe we'll stay a little lower, but you can see people have clipped the rock here.
Yeah.
So you just want to be careful that you don't get down here too low and have an issue. So right there.
Yeah.
So again, tons of traction here. So, you know, you don't have to worry about spinning tires and slipping. And
Yeah.
I've even been out here in the rain, and it's amazing how much traction these rocks still have.
Well, and you know, one thing that I'm impressed is we're out here at Sand Hollow. We're always driving on like what I call 80 grit sandpaper, right?
Yep.
But man, I'll tell you what, it is just, you know, I know that you build and help the tire program with all of your partners and whatnot, and so it's that's part of what makes this vehicle stick as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right now I've got a set of the new Mickey Thompson Baja Bosses on here, and those guys have been working with us not only on the Jeep side but in the Ultra 4 side.
Yeah.
And they're really committed to build a great tire, and boy, I love working with companies like that that are, you know, looking to do it right and get feedback from the drivers. All right, this is the fun part. So you actually have a 3 different lines here, right? So you can stay to the left and just drive up over the top.
Sure.
You can go further to the right, or you can go up the middle. The middle's a little tricky. This is not something you want to do on 35s.
No, yeah. So, yeah, really what you look at is the original trail is your left line. The right line is your, you know, your escalated difficulty. So the 7 rated line on the left, on the right, it's more of an 8 rated line, and this middle line, well, that's every bit of a 9, right?
Yeah, and this is all about hitting the line just right. So it's if you're not used to this, you're definitely going to want to either go with somebody that knows the line or really take your time and get a spotter.
And I'm just looking at the footage here, and man, this thing's just flexing out.
Yeah.
It is just stable as heck here in the cab.
Well, that's a big part of what we design into our suspension. We really want the vehicle to be stable and predictable. Too many Jeeps end up where they're really unstable, and as a driver, you don't know where you're at. You know, are you okay to keep going straight? You know.
Yeah.
So we really build that in. The other thing that I do is I put a lot of anti-squat in the suspension. So the suspension, the wheels are traveling down looking for traction. That makes a big difference. Really helps the vehicle feel stable. So when you get up here, you could go down to the left if you want. We're just kind of going straight over the top. And this is pretty cool. I'm going to straddle this little V here, which actually ramps down nice and smooth. I think it's a cool line right there.
Yeah.
And you don't always have to drive in the middle of that stuff. You want to keep your tires up on top, and that's what we always, both you and I always preach, you know, put your tires on the rocks.
Keep them up high, you know, and as long as your tires are up on the rocks, your diffs are not getting hung up, you know, you're able to stay on the line usually a little easier, and you get more visibility as well.
Yep.
And it's easier on your drivetrain and your suspension. Just all overall, it's good for the car. And I just keep referencing these views. I can't get over. Right now, you know, we're here, Sand Hollow, you got the lake in the background, you got the snow-capped mountains behind us. It's just beautiful. Yeah,
this trail actually kind of cuts across the side of the Sand Hollow Mountain.
Yeah.
So it's one of the few that you just constantly get this beautiful view out here.
Yeah.
And really a nice way to enjoy this area for sure. You know, you go to something like the Maze that's more off the back. Now, there's a view off the back too, but you don't get to see that lake like that.
Yeah. Now, this is kind of like an off-camber.
Yeah, and this is a little bit interesting because there's a big drop down here at the bottom. I noticed there's a rock down here. If it's there and you can put your tire on it, you know, that helps to kind of minimize it. It looks like the rock moved over, so we're just going to have to drop off this. I turn into it to make sure that we're landing nice and straight.
Yep.
You don't want the wheels too much turned or the vehicle will just stop. And then as we come off, I'm just going to go a little bit slower. There we go. That hole has gotten deep.
It has.
We're on 40s. We just scraped.
That almost never happens on this trail. But here, you know, we're at probably about 3/4 of the way through the trail already. And you know, in a small group, this is just a real fun obstacle or a fun trail to do that, you know, is a good start to the day.
Oh, for sure.
On a guided trail ride, it takes a little longer, but I'll tell you what, it's when you're out here with your buddies, it's just as fun, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're kind of picking our way through here pretty quick because we know where to go. It's I know there's plenty of paths, you know, GPX files online and stuff, and you guys offer some trails too.
Yeah.
So pretty easy to follow along. All right, another good little up climb here. Are we going to take the straight ahead line?
I think we should.
Okay, so you can go to the left over here and make a hard right turn, or you can go straight up this.
Yeah.
And this is actually pretty cool.
And let's, you know, we're being followed right now by Coda the Jeep, right?
That's right.
And so we're going to let them catch up a little bit so we get this really awesome picture.
Yeah, for sure.
So as we go up this, we'll just be... Well, we can crawl it. That's how great the car is, right? Most vehicles, you see all the scrape marks on the edge, and it's, you can tell in the tire marks below, you can tell they put a little bit of power into this. This vehicle's kind of perfectly set up for it.
Yeah, one of the things that we do on our suspension is that flat belly. We want to make sure that the breakover, which is, you know, where you see all the scrapes up there, that's a super important part, because if you hit, then you're more likely to the vehicle to turn or get stuck.
Yep.
And then you got to back up, and backing down something like this isn't exactly fun.
Yeah. Well, I think we could probably...
Are we ready to go?
Give her a go, you know.
All right.
This thing is, it's super steep. Like, holy smokes.
Yeah, you're looking at the sky.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's crazy.
That's awesome. And you don't even spin a tire, you know, it's just like straight up.
Yeah.
But again, I've got my lockers on, you know, making sure that everything's right. That's one of those things that you definitely don't want to have some kind of an issue on where the vehicle turns sideways or you got to back down.
Yeah.
Just can be a little nerve-wracking. All right, this one, what most people want to do is drive up the middle, but they get a tire in that hole right there.
Yep.
The answer is to straddle that hole.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. You just want to drive around. It'll keep the vehicle nice and level. This one does have a little bit of loose sand on it.
Uh-huh.
So if you don't have lockers, you'd be slipping a little bit. But
the
again,
idea is just to kind of continually drive it, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You don't want to be starting and stopping. And I don't know. I was going to mention that I'm driving two-footed, so I'm actually using my right foot to just keep the throttle steady.
Sure.
And then my left foot is controlling the speed.
Yeah, and that's important.
It is, because that helps to keep the drive line loaded. And when you do that, then it's grabbing traction quicker. The wheels aren't loading and unloading.
Yeah.
So this one, here's another one where we're going to do a little bit of a pivot. So we're going to climb up here. And as the rear axle hits, it's going to pivot around, or it should.
There it is.
There we go. And that really helps the vehicle square up on the obstacle. Now this one's a little tricky because when you come over, you can't see very good.
Yeah.
But there's a big hole on the driver's side. So again, looking out that window, make sure your tire doesn't go in there.
Yeah.
Or it's going to lean a lot more. And there we go. There's a small little flat here. You drive along and then you continue on the trail.
And I just have to give props, by the way, to our camera crew. They are keeping up with us. We're moving pretty quick through this, and they've been getting great shots.
Awesome.
You know, they're amazing.
It is really hard to capture, you know, what it's like to be out here. Everybody's seen the video, and it looks like nothing, you know. And it's this is pretty cool out here, and they're getting it from all angles.
And, you know, part of what makes this really cool is I'm actually producing the show here in the cab as we're talking.
Yeah,
and, man, I'm watching the TV show at the same time that we're doing the TV show, right?
Yep.
It's kind of a cool experience.
All right, again, so I put on the lockers before we're under stress on the drivetrain. And then This one you want to turn a little bit into it.
Yep.
And kind of get the suspension to level the vehicle out and bite, and then you just walk right up. And again, that high clearance front bumper is keeping us from just driving into the rock and punching it.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
Well, and when you're not hitting rocks, you're able to control the vehicle a lot more.
Yeah,
right?
and it's less stressful on the vehicle. You're not worried about beating it up, and you're just kind of cruising along, which is really nice.
Yeah.
This one's kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. It kind of puts your driver rear in the hole.
Yeah, we're going to square up on it a little bit.
Yeah.
And again, lockers on. Yeah, there is a big hole there. But if you get it right, it just crawls right up.
Sure does.
And then this is the real deal here.
Yeah. So this next obstacle is it's pretty gnarly. In fact, Coda the Jeep yesterday, it's his first time to make it, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. So, okay. So the trick is you kind of drive into this thing. There's a little bit of a wall on the passenger side. And then you want to drive straight until you feel the passenger side tire climb. And then you just turn into it and you go right up.
Wow. Holy smokes.
Textbook.
That was rad. That was cool.
If you don't do it that way, you're going to be humping that rock for a while.
Oh, yeah. And now, because of just where we're at in the trail, right, we have the, I don't know, hopefully we get Coda up here. I'm not sure where he's at.
Oh, he made it.
He's
right there.
Oh, right on. Cool. There we did it.
Awesome.
Yeah, you always want to make sure the guys behind you make the obstacles,
yeah, you
right?
got to keep an eye on them. What do they call that, like caravan rules? Just keep an eye on them.
And now, this obstacle is kind of what this trail's built
known
off
for.
of.
That's
Yeah.
right, yep. The chute.
The chute. And boy, is it crazy.
Oh, it's pretty well lit right now. That's good.
Yeah. So, as you come into this canyon, you just see this huge, 35-foot, 40-foot climb in front of you. Pretty menacing looking.
Yeah, definitely. And it's got a big V in the middle of it, so you definitely don't want to fall into that either.
Yeah.
That takes a little bit of hitting it right. So what I'm focused on is really keeping the vehicle flat.
Uh-huh.
So again, both lockers on. Don't take any chances here.
Yeah.
And then you want nice, steady throttle. And then just focus on keeping the vehicle nice and flat as you come up. And then it crests over the top. And you got it.
And there we are. Made it. And man, I'll tell you what. That is, if you've never been on something like that before, it is crazy.
It is. That is steep. You're looking at nothing but sky. And certainly the prospect of rolling backwards is not a good one.
Sure.
And if you fall in, you're definitely not going forward.
Yeah.
Like I've seen guys do that, and you're done, and then it's hard to back up.
Well, I'll tell you what, this has been a blast. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we just ran Double Sammy, 7-rated trail. Tony Pellegrino, awesome job.
Thanks.
But that's kind of expected, right? You're the guy. You're the driver. So, we're just happy to be part of your efforts. And you can see here we got Coda the Jeep who tagged along with us on the trail, and we're thankful for them to join us.
Absolutely.
And Tony, thanks.
Yeah,
Appreciate
of course.
All right, so we're going to sign off from the driver's seat, and we'll see you on the next trail.